Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Shining Lights, the show where we spotlight community members and organizations that are doing wonderful things in their communities. My name is Ben Barber, and this is Jacqueline Smith. Hey, Jackie.
Hey, just want to point out I'm not jealous per se, but I want to know why we don't have a cool opening song like all of your other shows do. And I want to be stuck in a wheat field like Caswell.
Okay, uh, I will make us an opening song for next week.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Yeah, and I bet that we have some goofy videos of the two of us doing stuff on here that I can put in there. So how are you? How was your week?
That is the most boring part of the show. My week was long and I barely got to see you again, so that sucks.
Sorry. Are you gonna ask me about my? No. All right. No, don't
No.
worry about it. It's fine. I've been doing this essentially for hours and hours and hours every day. October is coming to a close, and October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I am so happy that our guest tonight reached out to me in September, early September, I believe, when we first announced that we were doing this show, to ask if she could be on to talk about it. She has a new book coming out called "I'll Pray for You," and it is a Christian woman's guide to surviving domestic violence. And Jackie and I just got to meet her a little bit before the show. She's a wonderful, wonderful human being, and I'm so excited to introduce our guest, Donna Wayles. Hi, Donna.
Hi, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. So you have a new book, "I'll Pray for You," and obviously, uh, the subject matter about the book. Can you just tell us a little bit about what led you to writing this book?
So I was, we've talked a lot in COVID, in the realm of COVID, about people being locked in, lockdowns and all these kind of things. And when you're locked down with your abuser, things are so much worse. And just besides, and I had a lot of time as a teacher being, in the lockdown and trying to teach virtually and all the things. And so just kind of polishing this up, and I had always wanted to write my experience, but this gave me more of a reason, right? And sharing my experience with other people, so that basically two reasons. One, so that people who may find themselves in my position would be able to reach out and get the help that they need. And the other reason that I wrote it was because sometimes I reached out and I ended up with more bruises, or it was much worse for me than before I reached out. And so for those people who want to help, there are ways that you can help. And then there are ways that make things worse. And I got a little bit of both of those. So hoping so that people who want to help can actually help.
Well, that's spectacular. We talked a little bit about our experiences. As, as many people know, I kept domestic violence a secret for 4 years that I went through for many reasons. One being that, whenever I did mention it to people I trusted, I got responses with, like, but you're so smart, or, but, just leave, or,
You seem so nice.
yes.
You seem so nice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And just,
What
yeah.
do you do with that?
And well, this is going into why the title of your book is "I Will Pray for You." If you could share that story.
Sure. So after my now ex-husband had the police report says simple domestic abuse, simple assault. I was in the kitchen and I felt threatened, And so I called my friend who was part of that emergency plan that the counselors all tell you to make. I was sure that I would never need that, because that wasn't where I was. But so I called my friend and I said, I need to leave. Well, just as she answered, my now ex-husband grabbed me from behind. He grabbed the back of my neck and my left arm and smashed my body. He was 6'4", and I'm not. I'm 5'2", and he basically lifted me up and smashed me into the storm door a couple of times before I could reach my hand to get the storm door open. And then he threw me down the stairs, the concrete stairs of our second floor apartment. And I remember thinking, thank you, God, that I made it down the stairs, because I didn't touch any of the stairs on the way down. And so I was not allowed to go back to my apartment because the Navy couldn't take his keys from him, but he wasn't allowed to stay there either. It was a crime scene. I didn't have anywhere to go, and all I had was the contents of my baby's diaper bag at that point. And I went to the head elder of my church. I went to his house because they had helped me before. They had hosted our baby shower. We had been shopping and, the Sunday dinners and all these things. And I could tell when I arrived that something was different. He didn't invite me in, and he stood with his arm across the door of their back porch. And he said, I'm sorry, we can't help you. We've done all we can. He's dangerous, but I'll pray for you. And I said, I know he's dangerous. I have bruises. And he said, yeah, but, we'll pray for you, and kind of a good luck. And then I just remember hanging my head and walking back to my car thinking, what am I going to do? And the hollowness of the I'll pray for you, when I really could have used a place to stay, or a box of, a case of diapers for my baby, or even a hug with we will help you through this. But I got I'll pray for you. Good luck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, but he's, going off of our society feelings of, there's such a stigma around domestic violence. Like there's something wrong with the woman or the victim as well.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is, as I was working on this project, I hired a freelance editor, because although I was an English minor, it's my own work, right? And we always need help critiquing our own work. And this woman actually said to me, you need to put in more positive times so that people don't blame the victim quite so much. And I'm thinking, wow, how, so
what does that mean?
What does that mean? So I have to put in some positive times that I had with my abuser, not just all the negative ones, so that people don't think that so they don't blame me for staying so long. But
yeah.
But it becomes so, and the phrase I like to use is a twisted sense of normal, because you don't know anything else at that point. You're so conditioned to whatever your abuser is telling you that you don't realize how far in you are.
I agree. I spent the last 5 years trying to explain to people, what happens to you, and it could happen to anyone. I mean, that, like, I call it spaghetti on the wall, which is just starting to get to the point of violence where, they say anything, they play on all of your fears and all of your strengths. Mm-hmm. They throw everything out there, and you're like, okay, well, that's not a big deal. And then emotional response. So then they're like, okay, so that's good. So let me play on this one particular thing. Yeah, I was afraid of, what, for my grandparents. I was afraid for, just embarrassing things. He would act up in public. And I was like, well, I don't want people to, see me in this light. and then later on, just trying to make sure I share, my narrative was, who I was before, and just keeping up appearances was just, so draining, and having to be so embarrassed, or like, breaking down doors. I had to explain bruises, and I would line things up with where the bruises came from. He cut my hair like off. So I had to figure out how to, explain that, smashed windows. It was just, but it was just, and my upbringing was more concerned about not looking like, this stigma. And
Absolutely.
and so, and then, that put me in a position where I'm playing into the stigma, and I'm part of the problem. And, it took me years, but that's why I'm willing to share this part. And can you put the name of the book up again?
Yeah.
Or just so that people, and make sure people know where to get it. Oh, thank you.
The book is called I'll Pray for You. It's on Amazon, but it's also Barnes and Noble, and actually the Barnes and Noble in Warwick has offered to carry it as a courtesy to me as a local author, which is awesome. And people farther north, Barrington Books in both Cranston and Barrington, have actually agreed also to do that as a courtesy to me as a local author. So I'm really appreciative of them.
Yeah. Can you also kind of tell us like some of the steps that you use to actually get out of it? I know I had a couple of things that I did.
Sure. So I went to counseling. I started with counseling because my ex-husband was in the Navy, and back before there were women on submarines, and we had a Navy wives group, and some of them had gone to counseling. And one of my friends, who I call Chloe in the book, had gone to counseling, and she said, it was really great for me. Maybe you should go and they can help you too. And of course, my ex-husband, the abuser, of course, said, absolutely, you should go figure out what's wrong with you. You're so angry. And so, you're just so angry and so vindictive. I was so evil all the time. I really needed to go see a counselor. And so he allowed me to go, right? Those are the words that he would use. He allowed me to go. And then we started talking about, why is it that I can talk with classrooms full of children, and I can teach Sunday school, and I was a conference speaker for hands-on science and STEM projects in different state Christian school conventions. And yet I couldn't hold a civil conversation with my husband without making him angry. There must be something wrong with me, because he keeps telling me that there's something wrong with me. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what, but what happens is that, they find every reason to be angry. And I think it's is a strength that they play on, because, they're wanting you to feel, they're playing on, you don't feel like you're a good enough person. And Absolutely. This is what you're doing wrong, but you're really not. Like being nice to someone when you're taking an order for someone is not flirting, and, and all these other, there's always something that can be spun to make, activate that. Yeah, well, like I want to be a better person. And then you just have to take the hours of fighting.
Well, and so my ex-husband was not I shouldn't say not physically abusive. He was not destructive to property. He was very much sexually abusive, and it was more sexual and emotional abuse, psychological. There's always something wrong with me. There was, he was into pornography, and he expected me to live up to all of those ridiculous expectations, and, just to kind of go PG-13 rated here for a moment, he expected me to meet his needs, shall we say, 5 or 6 times a day. But we had a small child who was a year old. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous even if you don't have a small child. But that was just, and then he would be angry because I wasn't going to do that. And, how dare I want my own personal space? And he just couldn't, he just couldn't deal with that. And so one of the things that I practiced with my counselor was, I'm allowed personal space. I'm a person. I don't have to, he doesn't get to touch me all the time. He doesn't control where I go. I'm allowed to go to the store or to call a friend or whatever without checking in with him first. And that was kind of a big thing for me. The whole, the whole personhood. You're not responsible for his behavior. You don't cause it, and you don't, you're not responsible. And that took me a while to figure that out. But I think another key was when they actually showed me the cycle of abuse. And I'm sure you're familiar.
Yep, that was part of my counseling when I was also allowed to go to see a therapist, but I didn't tell him what kind.
Well, he knew where I was going, but that cycle of abuse was like looking at my life in words that I didn't know how to express.
Right.
The tension and the walking on eggshells and not knowing what was going to cause the next outburst.
Yep. All of this.
And then the outburst in varying degrees of whatever it was going to be. There was one time that he decided he was going to help me with the housework, but he wanted sexual favors for helping me with the housework. So he was going to make, those little children's chore charts. So he was going to make a chore chart with, if I do X, Y, and Z, then I get to pick what I get to do to you. And I'm like, you're not 5. No. So there was the tension, and then the explosion, and then the not quite apology. Right. You're familiar with
right. Like I am sorry that you did this thing.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry that you made me angry.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And then the honeymoon period of, and you never know how long any of those stages are going to be.
I was lucky that I knew that every day it was going to be something, and something was going to get broken. I went through like several coffee tables.
Yeah.
And cell phones. I went through 6 cell phones that year.
I only had 2, but his was more of a you will please me now. And, we're going to do this now. And I'm like, but there was never any, if I made the wrong, whatever he didn't want for dinner, he would sit there and eat, I feel bad for Fruity Pebbles, but I hate them to this day because he would think that, just a manipulation, right? I'd spend half hour making dinner and he'd be like, oh, I don't like that. And so he'd go make himself a bowl of Fruity Pebbles.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Just the manipulation of, here I am making dinner and you are eating Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah. Well, we're both Christians. I grew up in a very Christian family, and I also continued to work in the Christian industry. So you have that Christian aspect of the book. So kind of share your side of, being a Christian, and I think that we, bonded on the fact that, we understand that you could say you're a Christian and not live by Christian values. And, I personally understand that, religion is organized by people. Organized religion is organized by people, and faith is a completely different entity. And my faith got me through everything. I always thought everything was going to be okay when, you know, trying to rebuild my life afterwards. I was like, it's going to be fine. You know, and I would internalize even during all of the fighting, it wasn't me fighting, it was me just receiving. Yeah. He would stand over me and he would just, you know, yell things for hours until he got tired. So, but I would just go into that place where I had my faith. So what's your take from in the book on that?
So my take is a little different. I grew up in a very strict background, a strict religious background. So I was raised with the 10 Commandments plus, shall we call them. You know, the list of thou shalts and thou shalt nots were very long. And I had gone through, I went to Christian college, I was teaching in Christian schools, I had been through, I had been on summer mission group kinds of things, and I thought that I had done everything that I was supposed to do. And I even met him at a church picnic. You know, how does that work when, you know, he was supposed to be a Christian and we were supposed to have this really good and, you know, happy relationship, and that's not what it was. And I really struggled with the Bible says that God doesn't want his children to be hurt. He loves them and he doesn't want us to be injured. And the husband should love their wife like Christ loved the church and gave his life for it. But my husband didn't do that. And so I spent a lot of time soul searching myself with what's wrong with me. If this is, you know, what's wrong with me? What did I do? Or what can I do to make this better? Because there are those verses in Matthew about if someone has a fault against you or someone is angry with you, you should go to them and make it right. So I was thinking, oh, well, you know, there's obviously something wrong with me. But then in counseling, my counselor said, you know, what if it isn't you? And that was really kind of that was a huge revelation. What if it wasn't me? You know, what if he was just, you know, like mentally ill, right? What if there was just something that wasn't right about him? And I remember getting a letter from the Navy Family Services Program saying that they found evidence of all the different types of abuse that he had done to me. And I was thinking, they had to mail me a letter to know that, right? They had to mail it. But that letter was almost cathartic, right? It was terrible, but it was good because it validated my feelings of this isn't right and I can't go back here. So, you know, for that, but I still struggle with organized religion, and I've really just come down to God is not responsible for the actions of his followers.
Absolutely.
Right.
Or people who say that they are.
Absolutely.
Right. Because it's being a Christian is more of an institution, you know, than it is actually believing. I mean, these are two separate things, and like coming to, you know Christ is such a wonderful experience to have. And, you know, just because you're, you know, told you're a Christian when you're a child doesn't mean that you're going to have that wonderful connection, you know.
Absolutely. And in fact, after I left, I was staying in hiding at the home of a friend of mine, and she had hidden my car in their barn covered by a tarp because my ex-husband was stalking me and harassing anyone who would even admit to being my friend at that point.
One of the threats. Yep, absolutely. That happened to me.
So, but the pastor of the church called me and he said, divorce is not an option. You have to you have to take him back. And I said, the NCIS detectives are telling me that if he finds me, that he will finish the job. He told them that he would kill me if he found me. You are making me choose between being excommunicated from my church or living. No one should ever have to make that decision, ever. I didn't know what to do. I had been raised all of my life in the church, and how do I get this phone call saying that I have to take him back or they're going to, remove my name from the rolls. They're basically going to excommunicate me. Well, I can't take him back. I'm living in hiding and he's threatening to kill me. How does that, how can you? So understandably, I still struggle with the organized religion piece because.
Yeah. And I have the church of my dreams. And I know that will never happen in my church. And it's to be said, as Christians, not all churches are the right fit for everyone, and it takes time. I mean, in my adulthood, I tried a lot of churches, and honestly, I haven't been happier than I am now with my particular church, and I have a very close second too. But Ben's an Episcopalian now too.
I'm told I am.
Just tell you. Yeah. But I also want to have you talk about some of the struggles, like, finally deciding to leave, which is hard. And there were steps that I took to actually do it. Like, I started putting a lot of plans in place. I emotionally let go of some things that I would have to let go of to actually leave. I had to move. The police told me I had to move, and that's really not fair. It's basically like, there's nothing we could do. You have to move.
Right. Yeah. That's what I thought too. You don't get to live back in your house because we can't take his keys. So you need to find someplace else to stay.
Right. And I had to leave a career that I put a lot of effort into building just because I couldn't be somewhere where I was found at that time. And there were, challenges of, how do I get the money to move, which I didn't qualify for, how to, actually all the things that he convinced me that he did for me, or, took certain things off my plate and made me codependent. And I had to start learning how to be independent in all of those areas. And I was actively doing this, but you can't just leave. It takes so much taking control of your brain and, imagining how your life is going to be without this person when you're forced to be codependent,
Well, and I didn't get a chance to do all of that processing because once he assaulted me, the state of Washington took over, right? Washington state is I didn't get to choose whether to press charges or not. Once it's found to be domestic violence, the state takes over. So they did all of that. But at the
me
same
too.
time,
I didn't have a choice. The state pressed charges on him as well.
But at the same time, I didn't once I got out, I wasn't sure what to do with myself because I had spent so long being conditioned, like you were saying, learning to make everything be about him, that I didn't quite know what to do with myself. And there's a scene in the book that I described standing in my kitchen going, hey, I can eat squash for dinner and no one's going to I'm not going to be yelled at, or I like squash. Hey, what else do I like? What's my favorite color? And I just kind of go off into this whole surreal. I don't have to wear what he wants me to wear, and I can eat squash for dinner. I can cook onions and peppers because they smell bad. He didn't like the smell of those. And so it was just this whole rediscovery of, okay, he likes green, but what color do I like, and what do I like to do? And I don't have to listen to his music so that he's not upset. I can listen to whatever I want to listen to at the moment. And so it was kind of a revelation of, hey, I can do this. I can be my own person. But it's tough to do that after being conditioned for that for a long time.
But Donna, you made such a great point, which is the thing that we should really share with people who have been going through this, where you feel like, you're never like just a hollow shell of yourself. And look where we both are.
Absolutely.
That, you can get out of it. It does take time. It's hard. It's hard to do it. And it's worth every moment because, now you could be happy and you could be yourself and you're helping other people.
And yeah, my second husband is amazing. He loves my daughter like his own. They have when she was really little, it was daddy daughter days, but now she's 16, so we can't have a daddy daughter day. But we have a dad and daughter, and they'll go out for breakfast and they'll go to, wherever. And it's great to just have a peaceful, happy, just a wonderful relationship now.
Yeah. And you totally deserve that. And well, I could talk to you for hours. I really, really want people to take a look at this book because it's not just about what to do. It's also about, trying to what to do if you're in this situation, but it's also about understanding something that a lot of people don't understand, that the answer isn't just leave, and if you know someone in your life, don't do what some people said to me, that like, until you leave this situation, I can't see you anymore because it's just too hard. This kind of will help a lot of people who are, well, it was someone very close to me. I'm not going to say who. But so I really, really want people to understand that this is not an unintelligent woman or man situation. This is very real. It happens to a lot of people in varying ways, and this will give you some resources or just the understanding to know how to relate to someone and help them and be, a provider of that support that someone doesn't have. And it's frustrating to try to reason with someone going through domestic violence. I was on, the end of both ends of that at certain points in time. And it is patience and trying to help someone rewire their brain.
Absolutely.
Oh, my cat just licked the screen, and I was so worried that she was going to hit one of the production tools.
Nice.
So people like me and Donna laugh and we enjoy our lives today because we worked hard at it, and I want everyone to know that they can too. Anything else you want to add, Donna, before we have to
Well, that's you actually said what I was going to say. It's not an easy road, and there will always be scars. The scars never go away, but the scars are what makes you who you are. And there is an escape, and there is hope, and there are people who genuinely want to help, and we've been there. We've been there. We can testify that there is a happier ever after, as I talk about in my book.
Yes, that's so great. Ben, you could wrap it up. We'll let you talk.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you, Donna, and to both of you. And I want to remind everybody that they can purchase I'll Pray for You, A Christian Woman's Guide to Surviving Domestic Violence. You can pick it up on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And if you live in the Rhode Island area, there's an event tomorrow. I don't know, COVID regulations and stuff, if it's sold out or what the deal is with that. Can people attend your book launch tomorrow?
They can. So we're doing a drop-in author book launch. So there's only 50 people allowed in the building at one time at the Knights of Columbus on Petticonset Avenue in Cranston. I will be there. I have some books if people want to buy books to have me sign. There's some information about domestic violence and some, just hors d'oeuvres and, just kind of celebrating the escape and the book launch.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it really is. And, I don't think a thought that I've always struggled with situations like this is that, I know that a lot of people say that, hi Mimi, I know that a lot of people say that God only gives you what you can handle, and these things happen to strong women like both of you because you're able to handle it and then come out and help others. And I don't know if I don't think it happens for a reason. Like I don't think that it happens for a reason. I think that it's needless, but I think that the fact that it happens for no reason, that it's so horrific and so horrible, and that there are just truly amazing souls like the two of you who are able, Donna, to write a book about this and to become an advocate and to go out and help other people who might be in a similar situation, or know somebody who's in a similar situation to yourself. That is so incredibly powerful and inspiring. And I just want to thank you for sharing your story. And Jackie, I want to thank you for sharing your story and opening up as well today with Donna. I appreciate everything that you guys both said today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, so check out the book, and I'm gonna buy a copy myself. So thank you, Donna, very much for joining us, and good luck tomorrow. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Also, I just want to say before we go, if you are in need of help, please contact, and you live in this area, please contact the Domestic Violence Resource Center of South County. Their website
Also have codes. Don't say on a phone that you're trying to leave. Now's the time to leave, because, that just, it's very dangerous. And, do everything in private. Please, I'm so terrified for everyone. It's such a scary time in anyone's life.
Yeah. And there are tips and stuff in Donna's book as well.
Yes,
so
read.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Much love to you, Ben.
I'm trying to find the thing to end it. Bye, guys.